Greetings, people. It's the terrible old woman. You know me, or maybe you don't. Maybe this is your first exposure. Oh dear, this is starting. Oh well. Oh my gosh. All right. Maybe this is your first exposure to the terrible old woman. Um, I see that my hair is wacky. I'm not even going to worry about it. I've got this fan that sounds like a propeller plane. It's like sitting here in my room, revving up constantly. Um, Nothing I can do about it probably until end of August, start of September, whenever this heat decides to start lowering back down. And then we've got the reverse problem because we're using propane out the wazoo. I can't talk today. Anyway, this is your new moon reading. I've got the Moonology deck, which is great for moon readings. I will put a link in the video description. I need to grab my glasses because the words in these little instruction books are always written in font for ants. So let's see, what are we going to do here today? I should have figured this out first. You know me. My God. I just, I've got to laugh at myself because it's just kind of cuckoo bananas the way I go about things sometimes. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like maybe let's just go with the old Celtic cross, the OG, the standby. Let's see here. So, gonna shuffle her up. And there, you couldn't see it, but I made a subtle shift in my energy where it was kind of this frantic energy. Come on, you got to get it shuffled up. It was like, bring it down and shuffle with purpose. Try not to put the, um, that hyper energy into my cards. For those who don't know, I do have ADHD, so it's always kind of that chance of the hyperactive energy. And, some of these things, there are some skills I've learned along the way, and it does just hit different when you're my age. I'm 61. Um, than it did back when I was a teenager. But of course, when I was a teenager, I didn't know. It was just always, you need to settle down, you need to pay attention, oh my God, I heard it all. And then they wondered why I wanted to cut class and smoke pot. All right, probably I can't talk about pot on YouTube or something. My videos aren't monetized. I don't give a shit. Perhaps when my videos are monetized, I might have to like divide things into where, there's like a censored version on YouTube and then the uncensored version. I don't fucking know how to edit my videos, if I'm honest. What you see is what you get. It's like the lowest production values in the world. I'm here in my room with this absolutely wonderful paneling that looks like the side of a 1970s station wagon. Well, it's like, oh my God, the decor scheme is horrible. The guy that lived here before us, he was, I don't know, I swear to God, he was on meth or something. But no, actually, the truth is the people who were living in this town at that point was beer and pot, you know. Uh, so for some reason, 1970 station wagon. If it had been me, it would have been like psychedelic and mushrooms or something. It would have been cool. But eventually, this is going to get replaced with something that doesn't look like this, but that's kind of lower priority because there's still like structural issues and things that we have to address. Anyway, I'm just glad that I got a room to be in, a house to be in, and it's a big house. And, if it wasn't for my son's generosity and his dad's generosity, I would be living out of my car. So, damn right, I'm grateful. Now, my son's dad and we have been divorced since 1994. We repaired our friendship after getting divorced. Yes, we live in the same house. It's a roommate situation. I write second chance romance. I don't live it. Anyway, you want the cards. You can interpret this for yourself, for a character, for your story, wherever it hits. We start in the present position, today, now, when you're watching this, whenever that is, that's when it hits. We live on a linear timeline that sucks ass. The universe is wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. I like it better. And I think that, and coming from an agnostic perspective, oh God, good grief. No, I didn't expire there. It was one of those like I sucked in a dust mode or something. It's just, anyways, prefacing it with the agnostic perspective so that if there's this energy that survives the demise of the body, which most of the time I believe there is, sometimes, and I've seen some of these energies, which I'll talk about a bit along the way, maybe not necessarily in this video, but so if there is, you aren't, I feel like when you do leave your body, you're not really constrained by the linear timeline anymore. And you can do things like go visit Jupiter. So that'll be pretty cool. Anyway, let's find the new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is short Taurus, but they don't necessarily do it like that. But at least we're in the new moon cards. Here we go, new moon in Capricorn. Your hard work is paying off or starting to pay off. The energy right now is in a place where it's a prosperous time. Basically, there's prosperous energy, and when I say prosperous, I don't necessarily mean that you're going to suddenly have several $1 million land in your lap or something like that. It's not like that. It's more subtle. This card suggests a good time for new starts. This card heralds the start a new and improved work cycle. So if you're creative, now's a good time to really get working on your projects because you're going to be able to take up with this energy and it's going to feel good for you, um, and help give you that push, that drive. Just something I always need. It also says to look into new plans and strategies if the way you've been approaching isn't working for you. Find ways to hone it. Don't be. I always tend to be very black and white about things. Oh God, I've just got to throw it all and out and start over again. That's not it. Don't do that. But where can you hone? Where can you swerve? Where can you streamline? That's think in terms of that. So you know, it is a good time for planning, but it's also a good time for starting to execute those plans. See which ones are working for you, maybe which ones need to go, or which ones just need to be tweaked and streamlined. You know, when we talk about discipline, I'm always trying to find ways to be a little more disciplined about certain things. But if you're like me, discipline tended to mean punishment and berating yourself and calling yourself names. Don't do that. It's more, I swear to God, all these reminders that I have for myself and popping up like a bunch of psychotic kangaroos all over the place. No, it's more streamlining your process to something that works for you and getting into good habits about things, which still, you'd think by now I'd have it figured out, but a lot of the time it was the nervous energy, the lizard brain running the show, and I'm still working on that. If you're still working on it, in a lot of ways, we're working on it for our entire damn life. And just when you finally get it figured out, that's probably when it's time to go pay the piper. So frustrating. But yeah, your hard work, consistency, showing up for your projects every day, that's going to be key. If you're making videos, for instance, consistently putting them out there, and it's been said that basically you have to do it every day. I'm not going to do it every day. I'm not a content creator. I do these videos couple, maybe 3 times a month if I'm really feeling sparky. I might do them once a week even, but I'm not going to be putting content out there every day. It's kind of like, yeah, these people need their food pre-chewed for them, and I'm not going to do that. if you're if you're looking at someone where this is their career, this is their focus, this is the way they're making their money, and I'm pointing this guy out in a positive way because some people dog on him. I think some of them are jealous because he's managed to be so successful with what he's done. Penguin Z0, Charlie White, he is a content creator. He's got something new out every day, and that's because he loves doing it. I would burn out on that. You'd start seeing me be like, I fucking don't want to be here today. You don't want that. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do you any good. So anyway, you kind of got to work within where your personality is at. I write every day. I'm trying to work with myself on rehabilitating the fiction aspect of my writing. And I always say, when I was doing physical therapy, done physical therapy for my arm. I did physical therapy for my vocal cord dysfunction. I did physical therapy for my spondylolisthesis, colloquially known as a slipped disc in my lower back. And you can't rush that. It's, small, consistent exercises that you do every day that start to, help the nerve heal, like in my arm, helping the nerve heal. For a while, it was back in 2017, my left arm hurt so bad. It started hurting so bad. It started with a tingling in my left pinky, which I ignored. It started traveling down my hand into my wrist and my forearm, and I continued ignoring it like a fucking dumbass. Um, I didn't have insurance at the time. I was doing contract work, and then one day I woke up and my arm just hurt so bad. And the only way I could get it to stop hurting on it was to lie on it until it went to sleep. And it was so bad. And I had to quit the job I was doing. And I went back on Medicaid, but I had to wait for the next month for the Medicaid to kick in. My arm was hurting so much, I went to the ER to ask them to give me a cortisone shot so I could get some relief. And the doctor who talked to me, I told him I didn't have insurance at that point, and we talked about it. He was real good about the fact he said up front, I can tell you what I would have to do would run you about $1,200. And also the cortisone shots, and I'm diabetic, so cortisone shots can spike your blood sugars. Um, and in the end, I opted not to do it. And I also opted to not get any narcotics because narcotics don't do anything for nerve pain. I was basically managing with lying on my arm until it went to sleep, and also with edibles. But, that edibles I use, they're low dose, and I would have probably had to eat an entire canister of them before they really started touching the pain, but it kind of took the edge off a bit. In a lot of ways, I don't know how I got through it because this was pain on the level of intensity of when I was going through labor contractions. It was just though it was kind of static. It was constantly there as opposed to the contractions, they flare. And either way, it's not fun. I don't know how I wasn't screaming all the time. But when I got to go to physical therapy, my first session, it was such relief. And, she's teaching me these small targeted exercises to help release that nerve. And she's also using heat and massage. And within the first week, my arm went from being in just this god awful, unbearable pain to moderate levels of pain with tingling, which it's like, all right, this is certainly an improvement. And it's one of those things where if that's the best that could be done, I would have been able to live with it. Fortunately, that was not the best. It then went from being moderate levels of pain to low levels of pain with tingling. Then my arm basically went to feeling like a lump of clay with tingling and bursts of mild to moderate pain that could be easily controlled with NSAIDs. And I would have accepted that. At this point, my arm feels relatively normal. Most of the time, I don't even think about it. Every now and then, I'll get some numbness and tingling. I watch it to make sure that that doesn't start increasing. I can I cannot lift the amount of weight that I used to be able to lift with my arms. And I have about 95% of the range of motion I used to have. It's certainly acceptable. I don't think it'll ever be back to 100%, but you see my bat wings there. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. But anyway, so that's how physical therapy works. So why wasn't I willing to do this for my brain? Why was I instead yelling at myself either internally or externally sometimes and calling myself names and stupid and all that? That's no. You heal your abilities, your intellectual abilities slowly, and it will take. Same way as you do physical therapy, you give yourself that same grace. If you were in an accident and you had to like learn to write, physically write again and physically read again, it would take time and you would need to have patience with yourself. So please, have patience with yourself when healing your creative abilities. Please do that. So, God, we talk a lot about that. I could probably just go with this one card. This is your new moon reading because, well, we're 20 minutes in. Um, but yeah, don't be too controlling of yourself or others. Um, I used to be like this, the kind of person that basically had a script written for everybody. I learned that from my father. He went to his grave having a script written for other people. You can't, because other people are not your puppets in your control. Um, you can only control yourself, but if you're being brutal about it, you're you're not really, what you're doing is driving yourself into just sort of this hamster wheel. And that is not fun, it takes the joy out of everything. And um, I'm trying to refine the joy and not get too much into the slave driver mentality, also that grind set mentality that I warn people about, because that's where I was for years. I am gonna just leave it at this card. This card was the one that we needed this time. This is the energy we needed to address. And if I go on with a longer reading, I'm just going to be prattling on because my focus was on this. The energy, it just reached out, and that's why I had to keep talking about it. And it's so important. Whoever you are and whatever you're working on, um, and it can be frustrating because it's not like, um, now, of course, being the age I am, early Gen X, and so I was the MTV generation, and MTV showed us through the video. By the end of the video, everything's all cool and worked out, and bitch, it don't work like that. It's not solved in 3 to 5 minutes. It's not solved in like with a sitcom or a drama. It's not solved in 30 minutes to an hour. Oh, man, it's going to be less than that because they had commercials stuck in those fuckers out the wazoo. Um, And I think my tolerance for ads is probably higher than my son's. My son was born in 1990, but it's because you get conditioned to where you just kind of zone out, go into zombie mode or whatever when the ads come on. While he was raised around TV, and of course, TV at the time when he was young, it still had ads, but a lot of the time I didn't put the TV on. If I was doing something and needed something for him to watch, he had some of his favorite videos that he could watch. He had Siebert and glowworms and whatever, when he was really little. And, he'd watch Siebert to death. It was just, Siebert was a little seal, and he had his adventures and stuff. And so it's kind of this wholesome entertainment for kids. And I'd let him watch those. And of course, there'd be no ads in that. He has a very low tolerance for ads where, sometimes I've got like my Forest app and you can get more coins for watching an ad when, it's a focus app. But you can get more coins for watching an ad. And so I'll do it. He won't. He'd be like, fuck that shit. There's no fucking way. So, um, and I was thinking about it because his dad has an even higher tolerance than I do. His dad is 2 years older than I am, so he's late end baby boomer. Anyway, so he'll actually let the ads through on a lot of things where he does it, and to be able to do it free, you have to have God, my brain just short circuited. You have to allow the ads through. And meanwhile, I'm like, where's the ad block? Um, I'm not going to do that. So, it depends on your conditioning and stuff. But anyway, this isn't about the zombie conditioning that advertisers all want to put us into, where, they've convinced us that you've got to look a certain way and basically say, if you're my age and you're my build, oh my God, you shouldn't be existing in public. Why are you not dyeing your hair? Why are you not getting Botox? Why are you not getting facelifts? Why don't you have stomach amputation surgery so you may have a chance to lose weight temporarily, but you might also die? There, there is a greatly increased risk of premature death with that particular, any of those procedures. Don't let anybody fucking tell you otherwise. I'm not going to go on a whole ass rant about, you know, size prejudice in this video. I've done that in a lot of other videos. So, you can catch some of those. What I want to focus on is this: healing your creativity, taking it the way you would physical therapy, realizing it's going to take time and take it slow. So we're going to take this card, the Capricorn New Moon Energy, that says your hard work is paying off. Well, even if you're like, hey, but terrible old woman, I'm not ready to publish this book yet. What are you talking about? Or my painting isn't ready yet, and I've been working on it forever. Or, you're learning how to play an instrument or something, and you feel like I'm just not good enough to perform yet. But no, your hard work is paying off. When you do it consistently, and I'm not saying this if you don't do it every day, obviously you don't care about it, because I know that's not true. Um, everybody's life is different. We do not have all the same 24 hours. Anybody who spouts that bullshit is probably one of those damn influencer fools that you find out later that he's renting or, using for the day the mansion that he so-called lives in, and the um, sporty car he's driving, and all those chicks surrounding him, they're paid models. They're being paid to be there. They're not there of their own volition. They're there for their wallet. But anyway, people who spout that crap about all got the same 24 hours, I find it's usually those kind of people, and they're full of shit, so don't listen to them. No, we don't. And it's up to you to assess the 24 hours you've got. And if, like, you've got young kids, well, you're probably going to have to sneak in some time on your creative project when they're asleep or when they're at school, depending on their age. And most of us do not have like a paid chef or whatever who comes in and makes our meals for us. We've got to make or somehow get meals for ourselves. Meals for our family if you're living with your family. You might have an outside job, which I know how that is because I did for most of my life, and I managed to fuck myself up by ignoring when things were happening. So now I'm on disability, but I'm doing things like this, but my finances are curtailed by the fact that I'm on a fixed income. So, I do still have some left over from my inheritance from my mother, but a lot of that got spent before it really took, that this problem I have with spending. So the little bit that's left, I'm trying to hold on to that a little tighter. And when the money comes from selling my parents' house, which, if y'all can send the positive energy, please, please let that place go to somebody who is going to benefit from it, somebody who's going to take care of it. It would crush my soul if fucking some developer came in and just bladed it to the ground, because that's what they're doing in that area. They're taking those older houses and just bulldozing them under, putting up these trash ass duplexes, which, even though they're trash ass zombie design duplexes, they're selling, they sell them then for like $1 million a piece. I do not kid you. $1 million a piece, and they're trash. Um, so most of us, we are living with our finances being curtailed, and like in my house, my income, it's the only income. And I'm going to be straight up with you. It's $1,700 a month. You're not getting high on the hog with that. So we're having to learn to live within boundaries. I can't just take all kinds of courses willy-nilly anymore. I've had to figure out which ones really, really work for me. I'm going to put a link to AutoCrit, and I'm also going to put a link to Authors Only Collective. Those are two places I found that have really good courses. Dabble, I'll put a link to their YouTube. They also sometimes have courses on YouTube. There's AutoCrit YouTube. So we're having to, most of us, find resources where, it's within our means. And what our means can get, it's kind of being reduced. And I hope that that reverses. And I'm not going to go into all the politics here, but like for instance, when we go to the food bank, we used to go to the food bank and you get a pretty damn big haul, lots of frozen foods, even lots of good stuff. We've still been getting, usually we get a pork loin from it. Um, but I got to tell you, people, the hamburger we used to get when we get ground beef, it was, middle of the road ground beef, makes meatloaf out of it or whatever, and it'd be all right. Over the past year, it's been like this trash stuff, Usually ground beef, it's like 80% lean, 20% fat. That's kind of your standard ground beef, and the fat cooks off. 75-25, it's fucking really greasy. And I tried even making chili out of it. And usually chili will hide a multitude of sins as far as flavor goes. This was not even fit for chili, I'm telling you. I see if I can do some tricks with it. Maybe if I cook it in the slow cooker first with baking soda, because baking soda can help absorb some of the fat. And then, from what I've read, then you rinse it with cold water, um, which I rinsed meat. My God, what the fuck is going on here? But then you put it back in the pot, and then you put in your chili fixings. And I'm going to try that because I've still got a couple rolls of this crap. These days, we leave it. Maybe some people are more adept than me at making it edible, but man, you shouldn't have to do that, People should have access to good quality food, and even at the food bank, I'm thinking it's just, I don't know. Now I'm on a big rant, but anyway, stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. That's what this card is saying. And with discipline, it's not the kind where, oh God, you just need to, don't go at yourself, man. It's sit down with yourself and be like, we need to fine tune, we need to look at where we need to fine tune, try to be a friend to yourself. And I know it can be hard because I've always had trouble with that, but I'm trying to do that. Now I've had you here for almost 40 minutes. I'm going to cut you loose. I hope that this has benefited you. I feel like it's benefited me. So Leonidas is here to say hello. And I got to fix up my mattress topper again. It gets all skewed with everything to the side. So let's see. I wanted to see if, yeah, Mushy's here. These three guys, they hang out with me when I'm writing. Okay, here's Dino. Oh, I got even more of them, but they're like over on the shelf. These guys stay here most of the time. Anyway, so wishing you peace and positivity until we meet again, and every day in between. Um, Gotta hope for the best. And work toward the best. Work toward improving life for yourself. When you improve life for yourself, you will improve life for other people because you will be in a better frame of mind. So the energy you put out there is going to be more positive and helpful. That's what I've got. Peace. There we go. Peace. Until the next time. Bless be.